holodecks once again, and for the first time and forever, proving that they're just not worth it. Holodecks, not even once. Holodecks, not worth it. You heard it here from an engineer. Don't trust them. I'm not going in them. I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to read a book. Wow. Look how realistic the graphics are in our new holodeck program. Huh? Oh yeah, we can't make graphics that nice yet. I forgot. Welcome to A Space Adventure Hour, the 4th episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. And this time, we have a holodeck mystery to solve. You heard me correctly. I said holodeck. They call it a holodeck by name. No, it's not like the battle simulator we had back in Star Trek Discovery. This one's much more complicated. In fact, the inside of this holodeck is identical to the one we saw in Star Trek The Next Generation. There's no changes. Black with yellow grid lines. What would make this one older? If this were in the same timeline, let's pretend. Could the average person determine which one was older? From the inside, same graphics, same construction, same name, same plot? We've been in the holodeck many times, and we've had the holodeck go wrong many times. It really stretches my ability to believe things here. If the same problem occurs now that occurs 100 years in the future, what do you think happens in the holodeck? We go in, we get stuck, we can't get out until we finish the holodeck program. And yes, lives are on the line, because the safety protocols didn't work. Wow, the holodeck has the same problems now as it does in 100 years or so, if we were in the same timeline. Spoilers, we're not. Doesn't inspire confidence in holodecks. Maybe we should just put this one under wraps. Nope, this is Strange New Worlds. A space adventure hour. This episode begins with what is honestly poking fun at the original series. What we see right out of the gate, with no prior knowledge, is a narratively structured scene of a campy, I'll say 60s sci-fi television show called The Last Frontier. Ha ha, wink wink, nudge nudge, say no more, say no more. What is this supposed to be? A Star Trek of parody inside of Star Trek. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. And if you haven't seen it, maybe you don't want to watch it. It depends on how realistic you want your Star Trek to be. Do you want Strange New Worlds to be a platform for jokes? Or do you want your Star Trek to be realistic? You know, hard, sensible, drama, science fiction things, even, dare I say. And yes, the show is called Strange New Worlds. And no, we have not been to a Strange New World almost halfway through this season. It seems like the characters that are in this parody of TOS, in this fake television show that occurs in this fake holodeck program, are doing some real Star Trekking. They're talking to new aliens. They look like they're going on an adventure. One of 2 times in this episode where I told myself, man, I wish we were doing something as cool as these characters are doing in my Star Trek show. I wish it were as nice as they make it sound in the show. You'll see what I mean later. But the Enterprise in our main plot, what is going on in reality, the Enterprise, not the U.S.S. Adventure from The Last Frontier, which was lovingly rendered, by the way. It really did look like a toy. It looked bad on purpose, which makes sense for the context. That aside, the Enterprise is studying a collapsing neutron star. Now is the time when we should be testing the holodeck, the experimental holodeck that's going to take a lot of the ship's power to run. Now's the time. There is no compelling argument in this episode for why we can't wait to test the holodeck later. They just hope you don't think about it. I hope they don't think about it. I'm just going to write this episode how I want. Here's what I want to have happen. Guys, put the meat on this bone of a script. Make it happen. But why don't they just test the holodeck later, when it's safe? well, we can't come up with any reason. Let's just not mention it. Just don't mention it. Just trick the audience. That's fine. Just trick them. They're not going to notice. We're going to test this volatile experimental technology while we're very suspiciously close to a collapsing neutron star. Nothing's going to go wrong. Nothing goes wrong with the neutron star, and nothing goes wrong with the holodeck. Said nobody ever. Leanne is put in charge of testing this holodeck, and Pike smiles as he basically says, I want you to really put it through its paces. Really test it out. Try to break it. I'm the most interesting man in the world. I'm here to sell you deodorant and also lead this starship. Leanne dances around with Spock, and by the way, the previously on segment for this episode, ominously, was about Wedding Bell Blues and the romance therein, or lack thereof, between Spock and Chapel, if you care. A little bit foreboding. Uh-oh. Why is the previously on segment for this episode about that episode and about romance? Surely that won't come to a head later and really, bite us in the behind. Surely that's not going to happen. Wrong. You'll see later. But Leanne and Spock go in to test this holodeck while the Enterprise is worryingly close to that neutron star. They go in, and yes, like I said before, it looks exactly like the holodeck you remember from TNG, and they start a Amelia Moon mystery. I think that's what her name was. You remember Dixon Hill. This ain't Dixon Hill. This ain't our man Bashir. This ain't Paris's Flash Gordon-esque holo programs. This is the much worse of the four. A poor man's Dixon Hill murder mystery. It would have been cool if they could have come up with something interesting. Like we already had detective, and then we had classic sci-fi Voyager, and we also had spy thriller, Our Man Bashir. And then now we have, what if we had detective? But sir, we already had detective holo programs. Yes, but what if this time we had detective? Sir, you didn't change anything. That's the same thing as before. Yes, but what if we just didn't change it? This time we're solving a murder mystery like Clue. You remember that game Clue? We're all invited to this party, and I know one of you's done it. In fact, they call it a whodunit. In 1969 Hollywood. What happened in 1969? Star Trek got canceled, and then lived on to become, frankly, more famous in syndication. That's neither here nor there. And we have to solve the mystery of who killed this agent guy. This person who, signs the letters, signs the checks for who's who in the zoo in Hollywood. And our show that was in this show, that's in the holodeck, The Last Frontier, was canceled. And we know all these characters, therefore, would have a motivation to kill this guy. And no, I can't remember his name. But all of our characters in this show play a character in the holodeck, in this Amelia Moon murder mystery. And I don't know, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, nothing. There's a little bit too many characters. I don't think we needed everybody on the ship to be in this holodeck program. They're not really. They're using their visage because they were recorded in the transporter logs. Did you consult them? I don't know if that's important. Is it important to you? But the computer is remaking, say, Mbenga, Chapel, Pike, Ortegas, Uhura, in the image of the characters that appear in this murder mystery. And I just think the actors and actresses just wanted to have fun. They just said, hey, if we're having fun in front of the camera, people watching are going to have fun too. Bad movie making, bad TV making. Don't think that just because you're having fun doesn't mean I'm having fun. That's actually not wise. You don't want to do that. That's what they did. Your mileage may vary, but there's a lot of these characters who pop in, pop out, die immediately. I don't know what their motivation really is. I can't really follow it. Too much dialogue, too little time. Ortegas' character dies. Una's character dies. The first character we meet is Uhura's character. the powerful agent, I think they call her, or power agent, who initially called Amelia Moon to solve this murder mystery. So she didn't do it, or did she? I don't know. And we have the character who plays the main character on this TV show, The Last Frontier, who is obviously supposed to be William Shatner. Don't think I didn't see you when you made fun of him. Okay? Off screen in this show, when you took this character, I think his name was Maxwell Saint, who was obviously supposed to be William Shatner, when you called him names, right? When you said he couldn't deliver a realistic line in his life. So when you knocked his performance, I saw you doing that. At least you didn't make fun of Gene Roddenberry. You could have. T.K. Bellows, the character Anson Mount is playing, is obviously supposed to be the stand-in for Gene Roddenberry. He's the big creator behind this show, after all, The Last Frontier. He does not play a character that is anything like Gene Roddenberry. But Kirk plays a character that is an awful lot like William Shatner. But it's an awful lot like the William Shatner you know from the Kirk drift. The people who have seen more about TOS than have actually watched TOS. I suspect that's most of the people who worked on this show, but that's for you to decide. But, and I'm not going to make any friends here from this review, but my critiques of this episode are meta. My problems with it come from the meta-narrative and the reading between the lines and the what were they thinking type things, not from the actual content. So that's not going to reflect really in the review score, but if you pay attention to my review, you will understand that there's a lot of things I really hate here. Okay? But looking at this objectively, and if I'm honest, I'm going to have to review this episode based on what you get, right? So, in a sense, I enjoyed what was on screen for The Last Frontier, the fake TOS campy parody show. What those characters were doing, specifically Paul Wesley's, I think that's his name, his Kirk playing the character playing the captain on this show, what they did with him outside of that show, I didn't really appreciate it. And these characters who are in this show don't have a lot to do outside of their show, The Last Frontier. And my brain could not really latch on to anything they were saying, anything they were doing, what their motivations were. And I didn't really care because I knew there were no stakes here. I knew nothing was going to happen. And frankly, I didn't really care about this insofar as it was its own plot and not a dramatization of what was going on behind the scenes with the original series. I'm going to confuse people here, but with regards to William Shatner, the legend around fighting for more lines in the show, who was quote-unquote the leading man of the show, what was going on with Gene Roddenberry, what was going on with Desilu Studios, that being Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball. You can see shades of them in this episode, but I felt like we were hammering on these characters a lot. These characters were unassuming. They were sniveling. I don't know. For a brief moment, we saw Uhura's character deliver a line about how, why would I want to kill the creator of this show? He was just trying to bring hope to people, optimism, show them a vision of the future. We're going on an adventure that is like a mirror to our modern reality. And she says this to Leanne and Spock in the holodeck in this program, and they're kind of vibing with it. And I was just thinking, guys, how about directors and writers go into this holodeck program and get told that? How about if we had an optimistic and fun vision of the future in our show called Strange New Worlds, which does not include Strange New Worlds, but in fact includes romance. Above all else, romance as if that's our selling point. What if we had an episode with a wedding? What if we had an episode where we went in the holodeck? What if we had an episode where it's a musical? What if we had an episode with zombies? What if we had an episode with Star Trek? That would be cool. 4 episodes in, I'm starting to feel the burn. And no, not the one from Discovery Season 3. One person dies, and then the next person, and we're narrowing it down. Process of elimination, they call it. And you see, eventually, Leanne asks for help. I can't solve this on my own. I just leveled up, and they're increasing the difficulty. So she summons in Spock to help her. Her new, the bumbling idiot sidekick from these novels has been replaced by what is not a bumbling idiot, Spock. And one by one, we realize that who has the motivation. We went into a fake fireplace, got a roll of film, played the film, and we saw that T.K. Bellows, Anson Mount's character, had a lot of motivation to kill this individual. And the person who was going to cancel their show, you can't replace me on this show. Don't you know how humiliating that is to go back and ask for my job again? I mean, I can understand, but I cannot understand murder nor condone it. I must say that performance-wise, Anson Mount was good in this. He was playing a smaller-than-life Weasley character in T.K. Bellows, which is the opposite of who Pike is. And the hair and the glasses and just the get-up and just the general physicality of the performance, man, I forgot it was Anson Mount. I didn't know who I was watching. That's good, I think. And you, in this one instance, you would be forgiven for hamming it up. You could be forgiven for chewing up the scenery a little bit because these characters are not real in the sense that our Star Trek characters are real. They are a fake inside of a fake, right? So it's necessary for our universe to look real, for theirs to look extra fake, and it does, and they are achieving that. And this T.K. Bellows character pins Spock as the murderer, and he shoots him with a gun. And we learn earlier that there is no safety protocols because Leanne gets a cut on her face from a falling chandelier. What does that mean? That gun could really kill us. And he does shoot Spock. And Leanne kind of susses out by the way Spock is talking. And I didn't see this coming. And it made me say, I should have thought of that. So if I follow my own rules, that means the plot got me. I was kind of surprised by this. And I was. Guess what? Spoilers ahead. The culprit, the murderer in this program was Spock. It was the character that the holodeck brought in to help Leanne. Remember how the holodeck, when they went into it, Leanne asked for a program that would challenge me. Not challenge the character Amelia Moon, if that's what her name was. Therefore, the challenge for Leanne could include someone that was not a part of this program originally, which would be Spock, someone that Leanne knew. And who was the last person she's going to suspect? The person she brought in for help. The holodeck spawned him out of nowhere, and he was the killer. And bada bing, bada boom, that's how we solved this program. I thought, in my mind, it was actually T.K. Bellows, Anson Mount's character. That was my guess. But the character I guessed was the murderer actually found out who the murderer was. And I didn't see it coming. So good on you, A Space Adventure Hour, for discovering that the murderer was Spock. And that does end the program. And by the way, it was very important that we ended that program the way we did because holodecks have problems. Safety protocols off. That's not right. Computer. They do say arch. They don't say door. Computer arch. Arch doesn't appear. Uh-oh. We're stuck. As we would be in 100 years in the future when anything goes wrong with the holodeck. If we are in the same timeline, and we're not. That's not part of this review. I'm reviewing these face value, objectively, for the content you get, how well it works. I'm not reviewing the meta-narrative. I'm not reviewing what I wish it was. And I'm not reviewing this as if it all belongs to the same timeline, because I just don't think it does. Nor should it at this point. But remember how we were trying to analyze that neutron star? We had to get really close to it with the Enterprise. It really makes one wonder, how close do we have to be to a collapsing neutron star to get all the necessary data? Can't we send in a probe? Anyway, while we're doing this, at the least opportune moment, Scotty comes to the bridge in what is admittedly a funny scene, if not scary. Scotty says, hypothetically, let's say if I couldn't contact Leanne in the holodeck, what should we do? And then Uhura says, well, hypothetically, in that situation, I would have done yada 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 technobabble. And then Scotty's like, let's say hypothetically I tried all that. And I'm not going to lie. Look, I'm not a totally black hole, void, heartless monster. I did think that was funny, if a little bit scary, because we're only like 5 years out from TOS, and Scotty is about as mature as a 17-year-old. And by the way, we just got Scotty off, what was that ship, the Stardiver, and just kind of plopped him into the show. He's not the chief engineer, and we're letting him handle the experiment with this holodeck system, while we need all the power we can get to avoid a wave of radiation from this neutron star. Big problem, you see. The only thing they could do was sneak a message into the holodeck and give it directly to Leanne, as if Scotty was a character in this show, in this holodeck program, and he appears in the video, movie, film, what have you, that Leanne and Spock are watching, to say, listen, you guys got to solve this program. I can't get into the holodeck. It would destroy the ship if I try to get into it. Great design. Great design. But holodecks, once again, and for the first time and forever, proving that they're just not worth it. Holodecks, not even once. Holodecks, not worth it. You heard it here from an engineer. Don't trust them. I'm not going in them. I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to read a book. I'm good. I don't need the holodeck. I'm good enough out here. Anyway, the only way, according to Scotty, to solve this program was for them to solve the program and then end the program. And that's 3 programs in a row. 4th, if you include the last one. And that is indeed what we do. And we have auxiliary, intermittent power, what have you, from Scotty. Scotty is Scottying it up as if he's from the future, but he's not, to give enough power to Pike and co. in order to get away from this radiation blast. And they do get away from it, but we're not in the clear yet, because that was extremely dangerous, right? And Spock and Leanne, Leanne gets out of the holodeck. Spock is a program, but the dancing we did earlier to discuss what we're going to do when we test this program does come into effect. Scotty gets his dressing down from Una, I believe, in that, listen, Scotty, you know that if something really dangerous is happening and could destroy the ship, and they did say 203 people, so we're going with the earlier number of people. We're going with like the Cage and before Enterprise crew numbers, even though the ship is bigger, I think. So they do like double the crew for the 5-year mission, so on and so forth. That's not related, but it's just a little point I noticed. Another point I noticed was that they managed to squeeze in a line about Una recommending to Pike that Ortegas be back on the bridge. I knew it. Did I not say in my last review that Ortegas being off duty would like not last? Did I say something like that? Because the way it is in modern Star Trek, in New Trek, if you will, consequences never stick if they happen at all, right? Because we got to get our characters back on the bridge, and I think that's exactly what they just did with that little throwaway line. And I have recommended to Pike that Erica be back on the bridge. You trust her? Yeah, I do. Problem over, crisis averted. And by the way, Scotty, next time you're having a problem and you think you need help, you can just tell everybody instead of whispering it to Uhura. Yeah, I know, but when I was on the Stardiver, sad stuff happened and blah, 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 blah. And blah, I'm acting like I'm about as mature as a 9-year-old, and I've lowered the age from earlier somehow. But you get the point. We're only 5 years out from TOS. You guys better hurry up. Spock, Scotty, you better pull your pants up, okay? Because TOS is beginning any minute now, and we're going to need some real maturity here. And I can't believe, Scotty, you never told anybody that you couldn't get Leanne out of the holodeck, and the holodeck was going to blow up at the wrong time and almost kill the ship because we were going to get caught in a radiation wave from a neutron star. Scotty, I can't believe you wouldn't tell anyone. Are you crazy? I'll tell you who's crazy, the people who wrote this. Because the way this ends, I swear to you, I swear, when we have the second dance scene at the end between Spock and Leanne, I swear I thought that was a dream sequence. I swear that I thought Leanne was going to wake up and realize that was a dream. I kept waiting. It's not. Remember how T'Pol and Trip in Enterprise, and spoilers, yes, they accidentally bond over, like, massages? Well, I guess we've accidentally bonded Leanne and Spock over dancing. When you see two characters bonding in any way, I guess we just assume that, oh, they're in love. And they are somehow. Leanne was kind of in love with James Kirk, you know, from that alternate timeline episode, and then when he appeared in the Enterprise in full. And then they broke up because, oh no, obviously that can't work. And then Spock had to break up with Chapel because, oh no, that obviously can't work. And then now everyone's in love with Spock. Spock and Leanne are like a thing now, and they say it in... Earlier when we were dancing, did you want? And he was like, yes, I want. I don't know. Maybe this is good. Let's just be objective. Let's be logical. Maybe romantic stuff like that gets people interested. Maybe it gets people watching. I don't know. I'm not interested in it, but maybe other people like it. So, let's be fair. It wasn't a dream sequence. We did somehow in this season have every episode involve love somehow, in some way. Okay, I laughed a bit. I laughed at the end because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But yeah, we've every character is just gonna be paired off with somebody in some hilarious, funny way. And oh, will they? Won't they? Oh no, he's in love with her. That can't be because she's in love with this other guy. What's the other guy gonna say? We can't say that. What's he gonna say? He doesn't know? I didn't know that he didn't know. But I thought he saw them. They didn't? What? Whoa. That's Star Trek. That's New Trek. Anyway, the ending sequence of this is admittedly very funny. They put together like a fake blooper sequence from the show, inside the show, The Last Frontier, and you see the captain in The Last Frontier like arguing with the alien. The alien's props get messed up, and then they fall through the wall. And then you even see, by the way, this episode is directed by Jonathan Frakes. You see the captain try to do the Riker maneuver, one leg over the captain's chair, mess it up, and break the chair. The meta stuff can be very funny. It's funny when it laughs at itself. Not so funny when it undermines the reality of the show, and not so funny when it undermines the real people behind the show, if you know what I'm saying. All in all here, it was directed well, as in it kept my attention. The way the blocking was done, the editing, and a lot of the elements with the writing, not necessarily the subject matter, but how it was written, it kept the plot moving. I was interested. I never looked away the whole time. I never checked my watch, which I don't wear because I'm in Starfleet, but you know what I mean. Musically, it could have been cooler to have something kind of mixed higher when we're in the holodeck and we're in 1969 Hollywood that was kind of like more period piece. It would have been kind of like more interesting to hear things maybe licensed from that era, I don't know, that were like diegetically playing. It would have been cooler to have something with just a little bit more flavor. Mostly what we're seeing here is just normal Strange New Worlds music and TOS flair here and there. It is what it is. But the music that they had playing for the Last Frontier segments, it was curiously close to the TOS music. But it kept veering off, right? Because it's not the TOS music. It's making fun of the TOS music. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Plot-wise, as I just laid out to you, I mean, if you don't think about it, it kind of works. Try not to think about it. Just go along for the ride. Look, the actors are having fun. Can't you have fun too? Your mileage may vary. thematically, I think what's going on here, inside and outside the holodeck, Leanne, who did she want in the holodeck for help? Spock. Who's her dance partner? Spock. It's about who we want, secretly and outwardly. The holodeck gave Leanne what she wanted, and then at the end, she gave herself what she wanted in real life, which was Spock. It's about being true to yourself. It's about being honest. And it's about finding out the truth. We found out the truth about the murder mystery. We found out the truth about Leanne and Spock. I think it's about, again, love, but more specifically, finding the one for you. You know what they say, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. And maybe for Leanne, that's Spock. I don't know. For the writers, it's always going to be Spock because they love Spock. But that's just how it is. Visually, I thought the set design inside the holodeck and the set design for The Last Frontier was very cool. It hit a lot of the finer points, not just with the costumes in 1969, but the set design in The Last Frontier, the way they have lighting hitting the characters' eyes, like in TOS, the way they have the light source partially blocked by like a fence of some sort with light holes, with holes in it, allow the light go through to spread a dynamic and strange light texture over the surfaces of everything, just like in TOS. The finer points, they did hit it, and I thought that was cool. With all that stuff out of the way, disregarding my meta not happiness with a lot of things that were going on here, I'm going to have to say this is actually kind of like maybe my favorite episode of Strange New Worlds so far in this season, season 3, but not by a long shot. This one's just getting a 5.5. Basically because I had fun on its own watching the Last Frontier segments. I had fun with the performances, and I had fun with just how over the top some of these characters were, how different they were from their real life counterparts, that being the life that they have in Star Trek, and kept basically down to the 5.5 that it's at because the plot itself was just so bad, right? A little bit uninspired. It's just a mediocre to okay holodeck accident episode. That's it. That's what you're getting. It's been done a lot better before, and without the strange love triangles and what have you. Anyway, I'm Lieutenant Mark, and that's what I thought about A Space Adventure Hour, and I'll see you when next time I see you. So long.